Cepat gila. Okay, so what have we talked about? Okay, kita cakap pasal at the maximum height, when we throw a ball, it reaches the maximum height, lepas tu baru dia jatuh kan. So before it reaches the maximum height, what happens to the velocity that is going up is going upwards, but at the same time it is also decreasing. Dia punya symbol is positive because it's going up, but it keeps on decreasing due to negative acceleration by gravity, due to negative A ataupun equals to G. Okay, G is going down, so dia tarik V tu, it decreases the V lah. We know that if our velocity is going this way dalam one dimension, in one dimension we talked about this for the train, when the train was moving, when we had a negative acceleration, we know that the train was going to stop eventually, right? So if this train started at 30 meter per second, it will go on to 20 meter per second, and then 10 meter per second, and then 0. So this is negative acceleration because it is slowing down, right? And then when it slow down, dia jadi kosong. Okay, lepas tu baru dia boleh jatuh, and then it becomes negative V, and now the velocity keeps on increasing. Okay, now it keeps on increasing. Kalau kita bayangkan train tu, dia sekarang ni patah balik. Dia patah balik. Okay, tapi dia patah balik pada kosong kan. So sekarang dia minus 10 meter per second, and then minus 20 meter per second, and then minus 30 meter per second. So dia lalu ke kanan, mula ke kanan, lepas tu berhenti, lepas tu dia patah balik. So the velocity becomes negative. But in this direction, okay, in this direction, kat ni kita cakap negative A kan. In this direction, it's also negative A. It's also negative A sebab dia ke kiri. And dia ke kiri. Tapi magnitude dia menambah kan. So now you have this sign negative dengan negative. Remember, if the signs are the same, the magnitude of the velocity is increasing. Walaupun dia negatif dengan negatif. So the magnitude mag of V is increasing. Okay, and in this case, kita punya acceleration negative and our velocity is a positive. So our magnitude of velocity will keep on decreasing. Okay, so this was the train, right? This was the train daripada 30 naik jadi 20, jadi 10, berhenti. Patah balik, negative 10, negative 20, negative 30. Now look at our free fall motion now. Kita punya free fall motion ni, let's say kita start by 30 meter per second. Dia naik, dia jadi 20 meter per second, 10 meter per second, and then lastly dia jadi kosong kat sini because ada acceleration negative. Okay, bila kita ada acceleration negative, which is our gravity, dia punya velocity akan berkurang. Okay, kita ada gravity. Negative G. Ya Allah, kenapa rupa G saya macam tu? Negative G. Okay, negative G. So, apa yang berlaku to the velocity? It keeps on decreasing. And then when it patah balik, jadi kosong, and then dia patah balik jadi negative, dia akan jadi negative 10, negative 20, negative 30. What happened to the acceleration? The acceleration is a negative G. The signs are the same, magnitude increasing, tapi semua berlaku ke bawah. Okay, so okay tak so far? Everyone okay with that?
Okay, okay.
Okay, eh?
Okay.
Okay, so that is for free fall yang symmetrical. And then I told you yang sama velocity on the left and on the right only happens untuk yang symmetrical cases. If your motion is not symmetrical, so maksudnya tak boleh expect kat sini 50, kat sini pun 50. Kat sini boleh dah 50, tapi kat bawah sekali ni tak sama dah lah. Dia boleh sama kat tempat yang dia simetri sahaja. So kalau kat sini 50 dengan 50. Kalau kat sini kalau kat sini 50 positif, kat sini negatif 50. Boleh lah. Only the part where it's symmetrical. The part where it's not symmetrical dah tak boleh dah. So better not pakai the symmetrical assumption lah. Better not. Sebab selalunya Selalunya orang salah pakai lah. Okay, so better pakai yang symmetrical approach ni untuk yang betul-betul symmetrical saja. Yang ni boleh kita akan pakai calculation. Okay, so don't worry, we have a lot of calculation in physics. We start with the theory or the concept and then we move on to the calculation as usual. Okay, so this is u. Remember what is u? U is your initial velocity and v is your final velocity. Okay, going up, velocity is positive. Going down, velocity is negative. Your g is always negative, and at the maximum height, your v is equal to 0. Okay, so let's try an example. A ball is thrown vertically upward with a speed of, okay, dia dibaling macam ni. Kali ni kita tak baling hadiah X, kita baling bola aja. So a speed of u equals to 25 meter per second. How high does it rise? How long does it take to reach its highest point? So how long ni kita refer to time. And how high does it rise? We are referring to the ball's displacement, right? Displacement or S. This is T. How long does it take to hit the ground after it reaches its highest point? So lepas dia naik tu, kita tanya apakah masa untuk naik ke atas ni? So delta T. And then dia tanya apakah ketinggian benda Allah ni? S. Dan dia tanya how long does it take to hit the ground after it reaches the top? So dia tanya apa time untuk turun? Okay, apa time untuk turun? And what is its velocity when it returns to the level from which it started? Ayat ni penting It returns to the level from which it started. So this already hints to us that this is a symmetrical problem. Dia akan turun balik and dia turun balik kat tempat yang sama level dengan dia kena baling tadi. So this is the level that naik and turun pun dia akan sampai dekat level ni juga. So bola tu naik kat sini, turun dekat sini. Okay. Okay, so we can use kinematics in this case. We can use kinematics. So if I know what my u is, do I know what my v is in this case? Do I know what my v is?
Yes.
What is? Yes, okay, jap. Amy tanya, doktor maknanya jatuh dari kapal lagi laju dari jatuh dari bangunan. Kenapa? Kenapa lagi laju? Oh, sebab lagi jauh. Okay. Apa kita akan discuss tu nanti. Okay, so what is the V here? What is your V? Do we have to separate this motion into section or can we just say it's a single motion? Do you have to separate into sections or not?
Separate.
Separate sebab?
Because at here is positive, at here is negative.
Okay, so satu
acceleration.
Okay, so satu section ni positif, satu section lagi negatif. Tapi
and it going upward.
Okay. Satu going upward, satu going downward. Okay, so that's the reason kita kena divide into section. Betul. So in this case, kita punya G is both negative, right? So previously I told you if you have different accelerations, you should divide it into different sections. Now the motion itself is different. The motion is going up and going down. So memang dah kena divide into section lah. Okay. Previously we talked about when we had different acceleration, satu positif, satu negatif. Tapi it was linear. Okay, kita buat macam ni negatif and then satu section positif. It was linear. Now we have going up and going down. So memang kena divide. Okay. So now that we have to divide it, what is my V for the first section? What is my V for the first section? Section kat sini. Zero. Okay. What about my U at the second section?
0.
U is equal to 0. Betul? Betul sebab kita start kat sini kan U kita. And this is our V. And this is our U. And this is our, this is 1, U2. And this is V2. Kita start motion untuk section 2 ni daripada atas, dia turun bawah. Betul. So we don't know what our V is. And we are trying to find how long does it take to reach its highest point. It's asking you what is the T. Do we know our acceleration?
9.81.
A equals to 9.81. Should it have a negative or a positive?
If upward, no.
Negative. Negative.
Negative. Yes.
Negative eh?
Wait.
Sebab gravity selalu
Yeah.
ke bawah. Gravity kalau ke atas, awak semua melayang. Okay? So always gravity is going downward. So your A in this free fall punya situation is negative eh? And our U is positive sebab it's going up. This guy is 0 because it's at rest. And the V over here, we are predicting it to be negative. And this guy, we are predicting it to be, sorry, it's already 0. Okay, so let's do it. So what is the equation that I should use to solve the first section? Senang je ni.
3.
Equation number 3, which is?
V kuasa 2 sama dengan U kuasa 2. Tambah dengan 2 negatif. Negatif 7. Negatif 7.
AX. Okay, kita boleh try. So V is 0, U is 25 squared. Kita punya all our parameters are in SI, so we don't have to convert. Kalau bukan SI, kena tukar. Minus 9.81, and then we can find our S. So our S is, so that is minus 25 squared divided by 2 divided by minus 9.81. So I would get 31.86. That is 31.86. Sorry anak saya bunyi-bunyi tu. Dia baru bangun tidur. 31.86 meter. Okay. Okay. So now which equation should I use to find the time? Which equation should I use to find the time? So we found this length to be 31.86 meter. Oh, ada chat. Kejap. Kenapa tak guna mic je? Number 1. Okay. So V equals to U plus AT. That is equation number 1. So your V is 0. Your U is 25. A is minus 9.81 and then T. So minus 25 divided by minus 9.81. So we would get 2.55. T is 2.55 seconds. Okay, so we found out that it's 2.55 seconds. Now, kita dah tahu one side is 31.86 untuk reach the highest point, and then it took the ball 2.55 seconds untuk reach the highest point, which is 31.8 tu lah. So we know that by symmetry that we should be getting the same time going down, and we should be going down by 31.86. Kenapa negatif? Sebab sekarang displacement menurun. Okay, so let's try to find the other side pula. How long does it take to reach the ground, to hit the ground after it reaches the highest point? Okay, so we know that the U at this point, U2 is 0. We don't know what our V is. It's asking us how long does it take. So we want to find out what is the T. Saya nak kena alihkan nama dia ni. Sekejap Group. Oops, sekejap korang. Okay, you need to go because you need to shower. No. Nak pergi school. Go, mami tengah kelas. Nanti tinggal mami dah siap, besok tak siap lagi. Mami dah siap. Mami Okay, so now kita dah buat for the first section. Kita go for the second section. So V equals to U plus AT. Kita try balik equation ni. V is we don't know. Sorry, kita nak cari T kan. So we shouldn't use this equation yet because we don't know. Kita tak tahu V kita apa lagi at this point. So what equation should I use? Oh, I can use this one again. So V squared U squared equals to plus 2AS. Okay, let's do that. V tak tahu. V tak tahu. Kita tahu U je.
Equation nombor 2.
Apa dia?
Equation
Equation number
nombor
2. Which is?
S sama dengan UT tambah 1/2 AT kuasa 2.
U plus V T Okay. So we already know. Betul ke equation ni?
Bukan. Lain.
Oh, yang lain. Okay, which one is it?
UT plus 1/2 AT kuasa 2.
Oh, UT plus 1/2 AT squared. Tak ingat lah. Sekejap. Tengok balik. S equals to 1/2. Ni equation nombor 2. Tapi awak nak nombor 3 kan? UT plus 1/2 AT squared. Okay. Okay, kita try. Saya tak tahu kita pun cuba bersama-sama. So S equals to excuse me, UT plus 1/2 AT squared. So kita tahu A kita apa kat sini, which is A equals to minus 9.81. Okay, going down. T we don't know, we want to find it out. U is kosong and S we already found from the previous section. Dia cakap sini, how long does it take to reach the highest point? How high does it rise? So at this point kita patutnya dah solve for our first S punya section. So we can use it in C. So kita pakai balik S dia. S dia bermula daripada positive 31.86. S kita adalah 31.86 meter. Sebab kita bermula dari atas. If I started it from down here, it will start from 0. But in this case, my ball is at here. So the displacement from the reference point is 31.86. Kat mana reference point kita? Kat sini. Kita start dari sini. Displacement ke atas ni. Now the position vector ataupun the displacement of the ball is 31.86. Okay, so U is 0 times T, don't care. 1/2 minus 9.81 T squared. Okay. We're trying to find for T. Okay. But should our S be negative or positive in this case?
Negative.
Negative. Kalau negatif baru it makes sense, right? Kalau negatif, okay, kita try. Negatif, darab 2, negative 31.86 times 2 divided by minus 9.81 and then you square root that. 31.86 times 2 divided by 9.81, square root that. I would get my time as 2.55 as well. Okay. So now you come across this new thing that, okay, our S has to be negative if the motion is going down. If the motion is going down, your S has to be negative. In this case, we got our S mula-mula tadi positive because it was going up. Then when the motion was going down, we had to make it negative in order for this equation to make sense. It has to be negative. Sebab kita punya time scalar is always a positive. So kena positive, negative, baru dia hilang negatif tu. Okay, so remember motion going up, S is positive. Motion going down, S is negative. Alright. Do I have any questions? Okay, tak ada questions so far. What is its velocity when it returns to the level from which it started? So just use the same equation. V equals to U plus AT. We know what our U is. It's a 0 minus 9.81. And our T is, we already found it, 2.55. So it should get us minus berapa tadi? Minus 25 meter per second. Minus 9.81 times with 2.55. So we get minus 25 meter per second. Okay, so again, let me recap what we did here. So initially we had the initial velocity and we wanted to find out what is the time and also what is the displacement of the ball to its maximum height. And we know when it reaches the maximum height, the V should be 0. So with that information, we decided, okay, let's separate this into two motions, going up and going down. The U is 25, the V up here is 0. The U for the second section is 0, and V2 is something that we don't know yet. And the acceleration for both sections should be negative because it's due to gravity. Okay, so kita pakai equation V squared equal to U squared plus 2AS, and we found out that the S is a positive 31.86, and then kita found out the time. Going down, our S has to be negative for the equation to make sense. Therefore, kita akan dapat T yang sama, and our final velocity when the ball reaches the same level on which it was thrown is minus 25 because now the ball punya direction is going down. Walaupun velocity sama, tapi direction of the ball is going down, so it has a negative sign. Okay. What else should I mention here? Okay, so if they ask you what is the total time for the ball to reach its original position, what is the time? So you have to tambahlah dua-dua ni, 2.55 naik, 2.55 jatuh. So 2.55 times 2, the total time for the ball to reach the level is 5.1 second. Okay, so it has to be the addition of both times lah. Jangan ambil satu je. Dia sampai kat tengah je, terlekat. Okay, so that is one example. So we got the same answer, 3.31, 2.55. Okay, sama-sama. Kenapa yang tu positif? Oh, okay, abaikan. Ini je pakai approach lain. Okay, next one, exercise 2.3. Now I'm going to ask you guys to try. A ball is thrown directly downward. Ni dia kasih bola ni, dia baling ke bawah terus. With initial speed, U equals to 8 meter per second from a height of 30 as 30 meter. Ataupun kat sini, 30. Kat bawah ni, 0 meter. After what interval does the ball strike the ground? What is our A in this case? What is our A?
Negative 9.81.
Negative
9.81. Okay. So saya rasa saya dah tanya like 10 kali dah at this point. So I hope everyone understands that it's always negative 9.81. Okay. After what interval? So it's asking after what interval? Interval means time. So it's asking, hey, what is the time? Okay, so let me ask two people to do this and then kita akan compare cara diorang. Let's see, kita nak panggil Husniah lah hari ni. Husniah and one guy. Dalam kelas ni sikit je lelaki kan? Okay, Amirul Faiz, are you there? So Amirul dengan Husniah.
Yes.
Okay, Amirul try solve for T and Husniah pun sama. And then kita compare. So everyone please try. Let's take 7 minutes to do this as usual. 8:37 a.m. Okay, let's talk back at 8:37 a.m. Okay, so I hope everyone has tried and managed to get something. Jadi. So it's asking about the time. And kita dah assign Amirul and Husnia. Let me make some space for them. Okay. So the ball started from the top at 30. Okay, 30 meter. And then it went down to 0 meter. Okay, kita assume ground level as 0 lah. Okay, this is our ball. It's from the top 30 meter going down. Okay, so kita start dengan Amirul lah. Amirul, how did you do this problem?
Saya guna V sama dengan U tambah AT.
Okay. Tapi kita tak tahu V.
Itu
Kan, kita tak tahu V kita kan?
V sekejap.
Okay, so kita kasih masa ke Amirul jap. Husnia buat macam mana?
Saya ada buat dua cara sebab tengok dua-dua ni macam pelik.
Dua-dua macam pelik. Okay, tak apa, kita tengok apa yang Husnia buat. Let's see.
Kemudian saya guna formula S sama dengan UT tambah 1/2 A equals to 2 yang tu.
Okay. What is
Lepas tu
the value
saya
of your S? Okay, kita kan discuss pasal perimeter dulu. Okay, so what is the value of your S?
negatif 30
Kenapa negatif?
sebab dia pergi ke bawah jadi negatif.
Okay, so tadi saya bagi tahu macam macam nak cakap macam shortcut lah. Going atas positif, going bawah negatif kan. Tapi kalau kita nak try to make sense of why it's negative 30, S is actually delta X, right? S is actually delta X, where delta X is X final minus X initial. Our X final is 0. Our X initial is 30. So this is how we get the minus 30 meter. That is why when your motion is going down, it's a negative 30 for your S. Okay, S dengan delta X sama. Kalau tak faham kenapa ni negatif, ini sebabnya. Okay? Alright, so that is S. What about your U?
U 8
8 sahaja.
dan 8 ms negatif 1.
8 ms negatif 1. Okay, so direction dia macam mana?
Direction U ke bawah juga kan.
Okay, ke bawah maksudnya dia punya sign?
Yang dia negatif.
Sign dia negatif. Okay, do we know what our V is?
Jadi tak tahu.
Okay, V is unknown and we want to find the time. So the only thing that we have here is S and U and kita punya acceleration which is always minus 9.81. So my recommendation to you is when you are approaching a problem, baca dulu and then try to list down the parameters correctly. In this case, you can easily put this as positive kalau tersilap. And you can easily put this as positive kalau tersilap. So identifying the signs untuk problem macam ni is very, very important because it will influence your answer later on and boleh jadi salah. Okay. So U dah tahu, T tak tahu, A kita tahu minus 9.81. See, saya pun tersilap tulis. So it should be a minus. Okay, so Husnia pakai equation ni. So let's try. Minus 30 U is a minus 8T plus 1/2 minus 9.81 T squared. How do I solve this using the calculator? I'm not asking you to calculate it using your mind. How do you use a calculator to solve this? Macam mana?
Yang saya guna macam EQN.
Equation, EQN. Lepas tu?
Yang kuadratik. Tapi dia
Kuadratik.
fikir balik. Macam tak betul je kuadratik.
Betul, ini equation kuadratik tapi unknown dia satu. Unknown dia just T, right? So what you do is bila tekan equation akan pergi ke unknowns. Kan, unknowns. Tapi jangan tekan yang ni. Tekan kiri. Tekan kanan. Tekan kanan. So what you get is degree. Degree. Okay, kat sini dia kasih option 2 atau 3. Pilih 2 sebab this equation has 2 degrees to this equation. So equation, tekan equation, cari unknown. Sorry, dia akan go to unknown. You don't want the unknown. Unknown kita satu je. Kat situ dia punya option 2 dengan 3. Which is wrong. It doesn't apply to our equation. Tekan ke kanan. Dekat yang butang yang ada atas bawah kiri kanan tu kan. So tekan ke kanan, you will get degree. So tekan 2. Okay, so this is how you use the calculator kan untuk equation macam ni. But first, how do you rearrange this to use in your calculator? Kena rearrange dulu. Macam mana nak rearrange ni untuk kita masukkan dalam calculator?
Dapat betulkan dia punya equation dulu.
Okay, so Husna betulkan macam mana?
Dapat negatif 4.905T kuasa 2
Okay.
tolak 8T tambah dengan 30 sama dengan 0.
Okay, betul. And then daripada sini Husnia assign dekat setiap ni sebagai A, B, C kan? Macam tu kan? Awak buat? Okay. B and C. Alright, so akan dapat jawapan apa? T akan dapat?
Negatif 3.42 dengan 1.79 saat.
1.79 saat, okay. Okay, so now because it's a quadratic equation, you will always get a negative and a positive answer. Always untuk quadratic. Apa maksud quadratic? Quadratic ni yang ada kuasa 2 ni lah. So, which answer should you choose?
Sebab tak punya negatif.
You should always choose the positive because time is a scalar quantity and never becomes negative. So this is the right answer. Kalau calculator bagi negatif dengan positif, kita sebagai manusia yang sangat pandai, kita pilih positif, okay? Because time in our world, it's linear and always positive. Tak ada negatif kan? Okay, so that was Husnia's approach. I hope everyone knows how to use the calculator. If not, please ask your friends or please try it now, okay? Kena tahu akan equation macam ni akan ada for sure. Not just in this chapter. Okay, so knowing how to use the calculator is important. You don't have to do anything pun, just know how to use the calculator sahaja. It's not that I'm asking you to do math here. Tekan calculator je, okay? Kena tahu. Alright, so that is Husnia's approach. Ada tak lagi approach selain ni? Macam mana dengan Amirul? Amirul punya approach tadi macam mana? Kita boleh pakai dua equation nak solve problem. Dalam kes ni Husnia pakai satu je. But actually we can use two equations to solve this too. Okay, so let me duplicate this slide first because this is Husnia's answer. Okay, and then kita try to do the second approach. I think Amirul nak try ke tak? Oh, Amirul.
Charity dah Miss.
Charity.
Saya pakai macam sini.
Ya ke? Kita ada cara lain Tak ada cara lain.
Tu saya ada cuba lagi satu.
Okay. Who is that? Saya tak perasan nama.
Husnia juga.
Okay, Husnia juga. Okay. Husnia try macam mana lagi satu cara?
Saya cari V dulu.
Okay, cari V dulu. How did you do that?
Guna sama dengan U kuasa 2 tambah 2AS.
Okay, V squared equals to U squared plus 2AS. Okay, so V is equal to, we don't know yet. U is minus 8. 2 minus 9.81 and the S is minus 30. And then we solve for V. So yang ni V awak dapat berapa?
Kuasa dia sama dengan kalau VJ 25.5.
25.55 Okay. Positif ke negatif?
Yang ni saya dapat positif.
Yang ni dapat positif. Okay. So remember I told you quadratic always has a positive and a negative. Square root pun ada positive, negative. I don't know if you guys remember this, but if you square root a number, saya tak tahu lah nak buat macam mana ni. 4, your answer can be positive 2 or your answer can be negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. Positive 2 squared is a 4. So your answer for a square root will always give you a positive or a negative. Now with that said, kita ada square root kat sini, kita kena cari jawapan dengan cara square root the whole thing. What should be my sign? What should be my sign for this answer? 25.55 ni dah betul. Positif ke negatif?
Negatif.
Negatif. Why?
Negatif.
Dekat bawah.
Sebab dia menuju ke bawah. The direction is going down. So the V, kita tahu jawapan dia boleh positif negatif. And kita tahu jawapan dia 25.55. But kita sebagai manusia yang sangat pandai, kita kena tentukan sendiri negatif tu. Calculator tu takkan bagi tahu kita. So we have to know this. If it's going down, it's a negative. Always, 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 always. Okay, so negative 25.55. Okay, so that is Husnia's approach untuk cari V. Lepas tu cari T macam mana? Next one.
Guna formula V sama dengan U tambah A2.
Okay. So U is minus 8. Sekarang kita dah tahu this is a minus 25.55 plus minus 9.81. So now we can solve for our T. Hopefully we get the same answer as Husnia's first approach. Sepatutnya akan sama. Okay, so minus 25.55 plus 8 divided by minus 9.81. Your T will be 1.79. Okay, this is a quite lengthy process. Tapi if you are more comfortable doing this, by all means, please go for it. The only thing that is tricky here is the signs when you square root your answer. That's the only thing that's tricky here. Kat sini, korang kena tahu how to use the calculator and then how to arrange the equation. Quite easy, I think. I would prefer the first one lah compared to the second one. But it depends on you lah which one you are more comfortable with. Okay, dua-dua boleh. Dua-dua akan dapat jawapan yang betul. Alright, any questions? Oh, saya ada satu chat dekat sini. 8 to negative. Yes, the 8 is negative because your ball is going down. Okay.
Doktor.
Ya.
Saya ada cuba cara yang S sama 1/2 U tambah V darab T tu kan. Boleh doktor terangkan tak kenapa jawapan saya salah? Bukan V tu sama dengan kosong ke?
Kenapa?
Bukan kita boleh tentukan awal ke yang V tu kosong? Sebab last kali kan dia akan berhenti bila jatuh ke tanah.
Okay. Okay, that's a good question actually. Saya tak terangkan lagi pasal tu. Okay, jom kita discuss kenapa dia bukan kosong. What time is it? Okay, kita ada macam 5 minit lagi. Let's go over that and then kita akan end class. Ni Amirul kan yang tanya tu kan?
Farhan.
Siapa?
Farhan.
Oh, Farhan yang tanya. Okay. Okay, Farhan. That's a good question. So, ingat tak saya cerita pasal free fall? I told you if my ball was dilonjakkan pada 25 meter per second, atas ni dia akan jadi V equals to kosong, bawah ni dia akan jadi minus 25 meter per second. Ke atas ni dia berhenti sekejap sebab dia dah reach a maximum height. Ada nyamuk pula. Dia dah reach a maximum height. Okay. So dia akan jadi V equals to kosong. Oh my god. Dia akan jadi V equals to kosong. Tapi bila kita jatuh ke bawah pun, nampak tak? Dia ada value. So sekarang ni bayangkan bola tu dekat sini dia start. Tapi instead of V equals to 0, dia punya U is minus 8. Dia patut ada some value sebelum dia cecah tanah. So value ni yang kita nak tahu sebelum dia cecah tanah. Bila dah cecah tanah, dia dah bukan dalam motion dah. It's not part of the motion anymore. The motion was from 25 back to minus 25, hit the ground 0. At this point, this is no longer the part of the motion. Ni dah habis cerita dah. Okay. Kalau kat sini dia punya habis movie tu kan ada yang macam dia bagi tahu director semua kan. Ni dekat situ. Yang ni kita dah keluar pawagam, keluar movie. Tak ada cerita dah. Okay, so this is not part of our story. The story is before dia jadi kosong, before dia cecah tanah. V equals to 0 only at the maximum height when we lontar ke atas. Reaches maximum height, kosong, jatuh ke bawah, negative V. Okay, so that is why when we talk about this ball, we are actually discussing the second section of the projectile motion, the free fall motion. We are actually discussing this part. And kita dah tahu kat sini ada value juga. Okay, sebelum dia cecah tanah. So itu yang kita nak tahu dekat sini, this is our V. Before it becomes 0, ada value. This is some value U and the acceleration downward is due to gravity. Okay, does that answer your question, Farhan?
Terima kasih, Doktor.
Okay. Alright, so I think that's it. Unless anyone has any other questions. Lepas ni kita tak cerita pasal free fall dah, kita cerita pasal projectile. Any questions about free fall? Tak ada I have one chat here. Doktor, nanti exam formula diberi tak? Tak diberi. Kena hafal linear kinematic equation, kena hafal. Ada 4 je. Okay. So this is the solution yang dah ditulis dengan cantik. 1.79 answer dia. Dia guna cara S equals to UT ni lah. Plus 1/2 AT squared. The first approach. Yang Husniah pakai tadi. Boleh. Okay, any other questions? No questions? So everyone's okay with free fall? Faham kenapa soalan Farhan tadi sangat betul, sangat bagus sebenarnya. Sebab benda tu akan confusekan korang lah kalau tak faham. So we are talking about when the ball, before the ball ends the motion. Kita masih cerita pasal motion. Kita cerita pasal motion maksudnya dia akan ada velocity. Bila dia dah cecah tanah, it's not part of the motion anymore. So kat sini bukan V equals to 0 Your final V should not be 0. Walaupun kita tahu ball tu akan berhenti. But it's no longer part of the motion. Kita cerita pasal motion je sekarang ni. Okay? Alright, so take care everyone. Have a great rest of the day. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Doktor.
Thank you, Doktor.
Thank you, Doktor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doktor.
Welcome.